Hello everyone, welcome to ChessVisor. In today's video, I'm going to show you another interesting chess game played between Praggnanandhaa Ramesh Babu and Surya Shekhar Ganguly. It was from the Tata Steel Blitz section 5 plus 3. Without much delay, let's get started. With the white pieces, Prag starts the game with a 1 g4 and then Surya Shekhar Ganguly replied the Sicilian defense, and we have the French variation of the same: pawn to g3, knight c6, bishop g2, knight f6 hitting the pawn, and knight develops and defends it, pawn to d6, and then castles. After bishop e7, here Prag simply breaks the center with the pawn to d4 idea, and then he simply takes knight takes d4, bishop to d7, defending as well as developing the bishop, the pawn to b3, so trying to feint out of the down square bishop here. Castles by Ganguly, bishop to b2, feint shadowing another bishop so that he can have more control on the center of the board. Pawn to a6 and then knight ce2. It's just paving the way for the c pawn, as well as it is helping the bishop to see the rest of the world. And here he plays rook c8, and then here comes the move pawn to c4. So trying to form the Maraxi here. Pawn to b5, trying to attack that strong center. So c takes b5. It is not a blunder because now Ganguly can insert this in between move, and then the bishop's diagonal is open. After a takes b5, he plays queen e2, developing the queen as well as putting pressure on the b5 immediately. And then Ganguly played queen to b6, defending that. In this position, he could have tried this move, pawn to b4. This is a very interesting move to consider. It's because you fix the pawn on the queen side, and not only that, this is called a deep freeze in chess. So simply taught by Jeremy Silman. I think if you are aware of Jeremy Silman's endgame manual, then you should know this pawn to b4 idea, where you fix these two pawns with only one pawn. And this is also deep freeze, where you cannot advance. If you advance, black is going to do the end person and weaken this one, and they are going to target this. So, but in the game, he plays queen to b6, rook f d1, just trying to x-ray the bishop, the d7, pawn to b4, and now he fixes it. Pawn to e5, just attacks the the knight and gains the valuable time so that he can open up the position as well. So queen ed takes e5, queen takes e5, and then bishop to d6, gaining the time on the queen, and the queen simply goes to g5. This is actually a serious threat created by Prag here in this position, because you cannot play some random move in this position. Just to give you an idea, if you play, let's say, knight queen to c6, then knight to f5 is a brilliant knight sacrifice that leads to mate in just 5 moves. So going back, so to counter this threat, he has to kick the queen away. So he plays pawn to h6, and the queen simply drops back, queen to d2. So here Ganguly followed it up with the move bishop e5. So instead of that, there was this move where he could have tried bishop c5, which is going to give him a little edge over the other move. It's because now what do you do here? So let's say rook ac1, it's a natural way of playing, or we have multiple options like knight f5. It is one of the main moves are considered by the stockfish. After e takes e5, you simply take on f6, and then queen takes, and then you take on d7, and you have the ruined pawn structure, and it is good for black. Going back in this position, say for example, the another move was to consider, I think, a queen to e2, just getting out of this problem. So let's say the pawn will move and kick the knight, but if you capture the pawn, the problem is that black will activate every piece in the position, and you will have an excellent game for the pawn he sacrificed. And final move, that is rook a c1. This is very natural way of playing, and now again pawn to e5 kicks the knight, knight f3, and the queen cannot move far away. It's because of the pressure going on the f2 square. Let's say bishop to g4, pinning down the knight, rook f1 unpinning and trying to overprotect f2 square, pawn to e4 anyway, and then knight to e5, and now black can even play this move, pawn to e3. So this is the problem in this position, when after playing bishop to c5, since it's a blitz game, anything could happen, but in the game he played bishop to e5, and then he played rook e1, just threatening the undefended bishop. So bishop goes all the way back to b8, knight to c2. So here the main move, or the better move for black was to play after knight to c2. So he played rook f d8, just to x-raise the queen. but instead of that he could have tried bishop a7 again. So this is little pressure or building up a pressure on the f2 square. But which the move which he played, got him lost a pawn here actually, because you simply take a pawn for nothing. You don't have enough compensation in this position. After bishop a7 played, now queen takes b6 and then bishop takes b6, and then after knight e3, as you can see, Prag has created two pass pawns, that is connected pass pawns on the queen side, and it is already a winning position, or considered as a winning position for white. Only thing is that he has to exchange all the pieces and go for the winning pawn in game. Bishop to b5, trying to activate the bishop. Pawn to a4, bishop a6, and then pawn to b4, bishop to d3, and then here he plays bishop into f6. So instead of this move, even this move, that is pawn to a5 directly, is also a better choice for white here. But in the game, bishop takes f6 was played, g takes f6, rook a c1, and then rook to b8, and rook e d1, and here after bishop takes e3, f into e3, rook takes b4, and now Prag lost his pawn advantage, but still the a pawn is stronger. So here the move is to play bishop f1 actually, just to pin down or take advantage of the pinned bishop here, so you attack it further. So instead of that, he played this move, taking advantage of this. Now Ganguly played rook to b1, just trying to exchange the rooks here. So going back in this position, if Prag played this move, this is like a winning move again. Let's say you defend the bishop and then a5, rook to d5, and then you exchange the rooks and go for the winning in game. But in the game, he plays rook c3, which allowed him to play rook b1, and then rook takes b1, bishop takes b1. This is also kind of same variation. Only thing is that the rooks are like backing up the pawn. Now also you can play such a move like rook a3, but in the game he plays rook c1. If you play rook a3, this is also a good move, but the problem is he will attack the back rank and he will get the rook activated. So he covers the back rank as well as attacks the bishop. The bishop goes to a2 and then a5, bishop d5, and then again it goes for that pinning idea. So rook d1, pawn to f5, bishop takes d5, e takes d5. This is again completely lost position for Ganguly here. It's because you look at the pawn structure, it's very weak pawn structure where you have 4 isolated pawns, or you can say doubled pawns as well as isolated pawns. The winning continuation is to simply improve the king's position and grab these pawns, or you just back up this pawn and push forward the pawn up to 7th rank and tie the rook to the defense of that pawn and keep your king active and try to gobble up these pawns. And let's see how the game progresses further. King f2, king g7, king f3, king f6, and then king f4. So king reaches its favorable square. So rook e8. So in this position, Prag played a rook takes d5, which allowed Ganguly to give this check. So instead of that, he could have tried rook to d4, which is going to cover up this square, and also you can prepare the move rook a4 and then push forward with your idea. Let's say you play rook e6, then you play rook to b4. The idea is you want to pin down the rook and go for the winning ending again. So king e7, unpinning that, and then rook a4, backing up the pawn, and now you can even capture the pawn on f5. There is nothing wrong in capturing this one as well. So going back in the game, he plays rook takes d5 and then rook e4 check, king f3, forcing the king back, and then he goes behind the pass pawn. So the principle says you have to put the rook behind the pass pawn, right? So that's what I think he did it. Rook b5, threatening to give the check, but he pushes the other pawn. Rook b6 check, and then king e5. So pawn to a6, advancing the pawn further. So rook a2 and then pawn to h3, rook a3, and then rook to h6. This is a very good move. It looks like Prag is targeting the king side pawn, but this move is going to help him to get a 2 pawns for 1 pawn. Let's see, rook a1 and then rook takes h5. Now after taking the pawn on h5, the rook is actually pinning down this pawn. So while he takes the other pawn, we can simply play this move, pawn to g4, taking advantage of the pinned pawn. Rook a1 and then the pawn falls with the check. King e6, h4, pawn f6, rook b5, and now it is just the conversion, and it will take a lot of time. So it is a lengthy game actually. Now we are at the 52nd move of the game, but we have to go till 96 moves to and also he did the checkmate over the board. Let's see, king f7, king rook b2, king g6, and then king f4, Rook f1 check, king g3, rook g1 check, king f3, and then rook f1 check, rook f2 blocking the check, rook h1, and then king g3, rook g1 check, king f4, rook h1, and now comes the move h5 check, kicking the king back, and then king g7, pawn to e4 improves the pawn's position, rook a1, rook f3, rook a5, rook b3, rook a1, rook b7 check, king h6, and then rook b6 attacking the pawn, rook f1 check, and that defends the pawn as well. King g7, rook b2, rook g1 check, and then king f3, rook f1 check, rook f2. I think the position repeats for the second time. Rook a1 and then rook e2, rook f1 check, and then king to g2. So this time not the repetition, of course. Rook f4 and then king g3 attacking the rook, rook f1, pawn e5, rook g1 check, and then king to f3. And after rook f1 check, king to g2, he plays rook f4 threatening to win the pawn. So he plays king g3 defending it. So in this position, he could have played this move, pawn to e6. This is completely winning because now black cannot actually stop the queening. Say for example, even if you take the pawn on g4 check, it doesn't matter because after king h3, your rook is under attack. If you save the rook, then comes the move e7 and then you promote it to the queen in the next move. But in the game, he played king g3. This is also winning, but it will take a lot of time. F into e5, rook into e5, and then rook f1, king h4, king f6, and then rook b5, trying to give the check so that we can get the king into the g5 square. Rook h1 check, king g3, rook g1 check, and then king f3, rook f1 check, and then king g2, rook a1, and now comes the move g5 check, which forms a little wall against the king. So he pushes the king back, rook b7 check, king to g8, and now comes the move king g3. Now he only needs to deliver mate. So let's see, but the rook won't allow you to easily deliver the mates, is because he can give the checks from this a file. Let's see, rook a4, king pawn h6, rook a1, king g4, and now he paves the way for the king now. So rook g1 check allows the king to go to the corner or h5. Rook a1, rook b5, rook a6, rook b5 is actually proposed the move rook pawn b6 so that there won't be any check on a5 square. So rook a8 and then king to g5, king to h8, and then rook to f5. Just wait to see how black defends it. This is lost actually already like 50 moves ago. King g8, h7 check, king g7, and then rook f7 check, which forces the king back to the back rank. King to h6, and there is no check. Wherever you put the rook, it is actually made in the next move. So after any move by black, now I think he plays rook to b8, and then Prag delivered this beautiful killer pawn checkmate on g7 square. And I hope you enjoyed this quick review of this game. If you like it, please give it a thumbs up, and still if you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, consider subscribing it, and let me know your ideas, thoughts in the comment section below. And if you do have any suggestion, or if you want any game in your mind to cover, please let me know. And as usual, this is Chess Wiser, your wise choice to improve your chess.